I love the global perspective that you bring to so many of these different topics.
And we talk a lot about the build, buy, and borrow strategy.
I think already gives you a jump in the right direction.
We're still heavily dependent on human labor force.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining this episode of Talent Talk. I am so excited to bring a conversation with my friend Rafael Silva, the HR Director Business Partner at Whirlpool, where we're going to talk a lot about innovation and strategy and workforce, lean back on some of his previous experience in the manufacturing space, and dive into some really interesting topics. So, Rafa, do you want to say a quick introduction?
Thanks. Hi, Becca. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. As Becca said, I'm Rafael Silva. I'm a HR Director Business Partner at Whirlpool. I'm there for almost 5 years now, and I have before almost 10 years in the auto industry as well as consulting. I'm from Brazil, but I work here in the United States, and I have held other positions in different companies, different countries, always in HR.
I'm so excited for this conversation because I love the global perspective that you bring to so many of these different topics. So let's talk about market versus workforce reality. So from your perspective, what are the biggest gaps between the skills companies like Whirlpool needs and what's currently available in the labor market, especially in manufacturing?
Yeah, so manufacturing, despite all the technology and innovation, automation, systems, softwares, robots, AGVs, we're still heavily, dependent on the labor force, right? The human labor force. And more we see that with the young generation, they don't want to spend a lot of time in the same job. They don't want to spend a lot of time in a plant. They want more fancy looking jobs, more high tech and not very, hands-on, mechanical, electrical type of work. So in manufacturing, still rely a lot on those, equipments, heavy equipments. They require constant maintenance or even technicians to make sure they're running smoothly and your production can run. So what we're seeing is that the workforce that today or for the past 80, 100 years are very skilled, that chunk is getting smaller and smaller every time because those folks retire. They get to the age they are ready to retire, and we're not replacing them on the same speed or pace because the younger generation they don't find attractive. They don't want to be in a more, let's say, like a skilled trade type of job within manufacturing. So getting those talent, preparing talent, finding the right talent to be your technicians, your process engineers is becoming a little bit more a challenge today than it was in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow up to that, how do you think we can better align education, training, and industry needs to kind of close that gap?
I think one of the things I saw, and I personally did that as well, is identify the talent that you have already. And we talk a lot about the build, buy, and borrow strategy. I know that's maybe a bit of a cliche sometimes, but for some skills, you have to buy from the outside. You have to hire people with the skills coming from a different industry. But in a few cases, like the one we're talking about, the build is sometimes the most successful one because you have employees that are already in your company. They know the people, the culture, the processes, they know the product. You have to invest in training and I would say more the technical training, which takes time versus hiring someone from the outside. But on the long term, that employee will be engaged, trained, has the right cultural fit, and then he or she will be giving the company the value added back from the investment we did.
Such a great investment, right? I think there's plenty of statistics out there that show when you invest and you remove that cost barrier to access training and education for your workforce, you just create such a stronger retention bond and buy-in with the company and the workforce.
Exactly. And it's about finding the right balance. Not everything can be a build. Not everything can be a buy. What's my sweet spot between those three, pillars? Make sure I have a sustainable workforce as well as sustainable pipeline for my future talent.
Have you done anything in terms of finding that sweet spot? Are there any analytics that you leverage or workforce planning initiatives that you've been a part of that have been helpful in kind of identifying where to lean and when?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I was HR at a manufacturing plant here in Michigan. We were an auto supplier, so working for the auto supplier, for the auto industry. in, Michigan, East Michigan, close to Detroit. And we were struggling with the same, right? We see folks who are getting to the age to retirement, and we were not able to bring fresh people into the workforce for those more hands-on skilled trade jobs. So what we did was, okay, we have employees that are here. They are somewhat, engaged already with the company. They want to grow. They are hourly operators that are, okay, I don't want to be a line production operator for my whole life, or I don't want to be a forklift operator for my whole life. I want to learn something new, but I don't have the means or the time to go back to school. It's too expensive. I have kids, I have family, I have obligations. So what we did, we created an in-house apprenticeship program for skilled trades, focus on the three main skills that we needed at the time: mechanical, electrical, and tool makers, which can seem very basic and simple, but when you look at that 1.6 million square feet shop floor, there's a lot of things that happen there. A lot of machines need care. So we created this in-house program that could, apply for the apprenticeship. There were some rules of who gets, what is the kind of order of preference. And every year, I think we onboarded 15 to 20 new apprenticeships in a 4-year program. So during 4 years, they leave their, let's say, day job as an operator. They became a skilled trade apprentice. They were working like shadowing a senior skilled trade during the day. And then they go to the community college in the afternoon or at night, sponsored by the company in partnership with the unions as well. So we gave them like some sort of support, not a college degree, but like some sort of a technical training at a community college. And at the same time, they spend 8 hours a day shadowing someone that has 20, 30 years of experience in their back pocket. So during 4 years, that's all they did. And after 4 years, which is pretty much a college degree, they graduate from the program, and then they are invested as an electrician, mechanical, or a tool maker.
And a huge salary bump, right? At the end of that.
Yeah. And that's was the biggest
changer.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest, attractive factors, because they know it's a good pay bump. I will have different type of job. It's, my own pace, my own time. I can kind of do my maintenance plans. I don't have to be 8 hours doing the same type of work, repetitive work, which most of them don't like. So we found a way to advertise the program. Yeah, you can be out of the line without having to be a supervisor or an engineer. There are other types of jobs that you can be engaged in the company. And they are the heartbeat of the plant. If a machine is down, who are you going to call? Not HR for sure. So they were.
That's where our skills end, huh?
Correct. Yeah. So they made sure everything's running. So that's how we were successful. And that program was running for almost 20, 30 years.
That's incredible. I love to hear that. And I bet the retention stats were through the roof for those completers of the 4-year apprenticeship program. I know you are very passionate too about kind of creating access and getting, all different types of people and different types of backgrounds into the manufacturing space. And so when apprenticeship is a great option for some, what are some other kind of innovation or early career programs that you've kind of practiced in the past that you've seen be successful?
Yeah. So we have a couple at Whirlpool today. We have a few that are a mix of manufacturing and also supply chain, logistics, and procurement. So we have those two programs now separate. But what we want to give to the young talent, okay, we don't want to give you something that is just go here, do your job for 3 years, and then we see. We create a rotational program where they can do different roles between 1 year, year and a half in 3 different parts of the business. So they're going to learn supply chain operations through, warehouse, freight and warehousing, or they're going to learn demand planning in the supply chain space, or maybe they're going to go to procurement and work with supplier quality assurance, understand how the supplier network functions. And after having these 3 different experiences, then they can say, okay, I think I like more this or that, or maybe I learned something else that I didn't experience, but I met people that opened me a door in finance, in sales, for example. So giving them the sort of more flexible type of onboarding. At the same time, they learn the company culture, they create their own network, and we help pave their way for once they graduate on this young early career programs, they are more, I would say, secure of their own choices instead of taking a job that they might, I don't like this job. What do I do now?
I think that's awesome. There's so much there, right? And especially building your network, right? Understanding who you like working with, what you like doing every single day, and given that space to kind of trial it in a low stakes environment, I think is so fantastic. One of the things we discussed in our last conversation is retention and engagement for production level talent. And so we know retention is a challenge across the industry. I know Whirlpool is doing a lot of great stuff there, but also in your past experiences in manufacturing, you worked with a lot of production kind of employees. So as you're thinking about production roles, what strategies have you found most effective in engaging and retaining that frontline talent?
Yeah, I think just take a step back. I think everything starts to being open and listening, right? So as HR professionals, one thing that I always, share with my team, my coworkers, my team members, that we have to be there for them. So we have the Japanese expression called gemba. It's a very traditional, common expression in the manufacturing space. It means the real place or the real location. That's where.
Okay.
So
wait, use it in a sentence. I need to hear it how it is actually said.
Yeah, I mean, gemba actually is just when I say, hey, we have to go to the gemba or we have to be more gemba, meaning we have to go where things happen. As HR, for example, we won't solve problems behind a computer. So if you're in a factory or in a plant, you have to go on the shop floor, talk to the people, talk to operators, supervisors, union reps, management, understand what is going on, listen to the people, feel the pulse of the line. Then you can take your decisions and then you can understand what's going on. Hearsay or somebody told me, or I think that's the problem, won't take you much further. So what we always did is go there, be on the shop floor as much as you can, take your computer to the shop floor. If you have to do your admin work, do it from the shop floor because you're going to be close to the people. People can come to you as HR, talk to you. They're going to complain. They're going to ask things that maybe you cannot grant them, but at least let them bring that to you. And then with that, you can understand what is going on, what are the pain points. So as HR, we can act upon it, not just one size fits all. Every single production line has a different problem, different shifts, different type of work. The same line, different shifts, we have different problems. We found that many times because a night shift is one story and a day shift is a different one. So what we did, and I can give you an example here with the supervisors, right? Because they were the ones also keeping the lines running, managing from 30 to 50 people at a time. And they said, we don't have any recognition. We are here, 8-10 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, doing everything we can to keep the plant running, and we don't see any recognition. And we hear that once, twice, different people, very seasoned ones, very junior ones. So we saw that as a potential retention and engagement risk. So what we did, okay, let's try to find something that is engaging and rewarding. So we started creating some sort of recognition moments for supervisors where, one, we identified through KPIs and metrics that we had at the plant, 12 or 15 at the time. We're going to measure them. Measure not only from a competition standpoint to really understand who are the ones that are the top performers from a specific metric. They can help coach the ones that are not doing so well. So we create this kind of buddy system where I have someone very experienced in one topic. I'm going to give a hand to this one that is just new, trying to learn. And that goes from basic people management to production management to scheduling to health and safety to 5S. So we have all these different types of metrics. And then every week we had almost like a ceremony to reward them. Say, hey, this week, this person was the top one in health and safety or in 5S or in scheduling. And then became like a routine. So almost like a healthy competition. Now I want to beat that person. I want to be better than them. So they start seeking for help as well. They came to us, hey, I want to be better in this thing. What can I do? Right. So a few things is just learn by doing, like go in the shop floor and practice. And then others is more like a classroom training. So we created a sort of supervisor program that every week there was a topic that was being taught by HR or finance or management about different parts of the manufacturing life. So supervisors could attend that. It was totally voluntary. If they want to attend, they do. If they don't, great. But with that, they were getting some more, let's say, classroom training so they can go back in the shop floor and practice that. So of course, it won't happen from day to night, but after 1 year, you can see the awareness was there. And now I know what to do. I know how to start, getting better in whatever metric or topic that I'm trying to improve. So this created better engagement, creates a mechanism that now production leaders, they're just one step below supervisors. They can see, oh, there's a path to become a supervisor, because even if I don't know how to be one, I know there will be a support system for me. I know HR or management or even our lean manufacturing team, they'll be there to coach me and train me. And I can even count on my peers to kind of help me stand up as well as a supervisor. So that was one of the cases that we did a couple years ago. It was very successful. We created like a little Hall of Fame at the plant. So they have their pictures, the wall, almost like they were very proud to be there. We had family days in the plant. The kids went there and they like to see their parents' pictures, in the wall. So to create this kind of engaging atmosphere, and also some sort of, by itself, like a competition. So we always want to get better every day.
I love that. I think that's so great. And that just speaks to the culture that you've built in so many of your different workplaces and environments, and why I think you're such a strong HR leader, especially in manufacturing. I got one more question for you as we're kind of rounding out our time here. And I just want to think about the future of manufacturing here as it relates to the workforce. And, you had mentioned, not being stuck in the past, right? And so as we think about how manufacturing evolves, what are some trends that you're seeing emerging in the marketplace for business and workforce strategy to stay future forward and future focused?
Yeah, so I think, as I said in the beginning, right, today the trend is always going to be the digital space. We talk about manufacturing 4.0, it's going to be 5.0 very soon, how much we can leverage AI and technology to help us. And I think the biggest trends now, how can we convert our traditional workforce that we know how it works, kind of the traditional manufacturing space, into this more tech-savvy workforce. They must be more connected. They must understand how technology works. They have to have some knowledge of basic programming or basic AI, basic software controls, because that will be the trend for the future. So if they stick in the past, they're going to still be working today, but we don't know in 10, 20, 30 years how this is going to evolve. So today we've been talking with some colleagues, right? Their kids now are going to school, and very early in their life, they already learn about, automation and robots and other things that is going to be very useful in the future. Maybe not when they are like in middle school, but when they get to their professional life, if they want to work in manufacturing, that's going to be the trend for the future. Automation, robotization, technology all over. And then how can we shift from a traditional production operator that just assemble parts to a more, I can be doing that, but also giving support, giving more of this, let's say, technical enhancements on my production floor.
Well, it sounds like you're dabbling there anyways with some of those programs that you talked about with apprenticeship and rotational, the supervisor training, right? Giving that cross exposure and cross training exposure to your employees, I think already gives you a jump in the right direction. Thanks so much for joining us today. Rafa, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So LinkedIn should be the best way. I think you can put like a link somewhere to my LinkedIn. It's a long name. So hit me there if you have any questions, want to share ideas, experiences, or just, connect. Happy to do so, and looking forward to our next conversation, Becca. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I certainly look forward to staying connected with you, and I'm sure people are going to reach out to learn more about your story and all of your experience. So, Rafa, thank you again.
Thank you so much.